The Democratic National Committee, the big party organization for Democrats, is in absolutely dire shape. And I think it's probably time for the guy who chairs it, a guy named Ken Martin, to go. Let me explain. There's a piece in the New York Times on Wednesday night. I'm just going to read you the first two paragraphs because they are devastating. Just months into the tenure of a new party leader, Ken Martin, the Democratic National Committee's financial situation has grown so bleak that top officials have discussed whether they might need to borrow money this year to keep paying the bills. Second paragraph. Fundraising for major donors, some of whom Mr. Martin has still not spoken with, has slowed sharply. Now, folks, you know I've been talking about this, right? So Ken Martin gets elected DNC chair. David Hogg, activist who was a high school student at Parkland in 2018 when there was a mass school shooting there, gets elected vice chairman. It doesn't work. Hogg doesn't want to play nice. Martin and Hogg clearly don't really get along. Hogg is ousted last week. Okay, you might have thought that would be the end of it. Okay, Martin can move on, and now they can get the DNC on the right track. No. Two big labor leaders left the DNC because Martin would not put them on the Rules and Bylaws Committee. There are so many quotes in this piece, this New York Times piece, some on the record that are just devastating about Martin and who he's including and who he's not including. He's playing favorites. But ultimately what this gets down to is money, right? The answer to all your questions is money. These party committees work on money. They are funding the turnout operations, the voter ID operations for most of the state parties around the country. This is how these state parties who are, trying to win Senate races, trying to win House races, this is how they get a bunch of their money. And when you have a national party committee that is thinking about borrowing money to cover its bills, I've literally never heard of that before. And I'm old. I've been covering this a long time. It seems to me that this may be the end of the end for Ken Martin at the DNC. I don't know how you can continue if you're in that bad a situation. There are major donors you still haven't reached out to. You couldn't get your house in order with David Hogg and that whole mess. It just feels, and now you have a giant piece in the New York Times detailing all of it. That's not going to help you raise money. A piece in the New York Times. You know who reads the New York Times? Major donors to the Democratic National Committee. A piece that makes it look like it's utter chaos, that you don't know what you're doing, that you spent the first 6 months of this year, rather than going after Donald Trump and what he's doing, trying to litigate these internal battles that you haven't done all that well with. I mean, it feels to me like this story may be kind of the bell tolls for thee when it comes to Ken Martin. I don't know how the Democratic Party continues on in this way, given that the party badly needs a leader who is helping it rebuild at the DNC, right? The party, as I've talked about many times, is leaderless at the moment, right? They don't have the White House, they don't have the House, they don't have the Senate, they don't have a majority of governorships, right? There are a bunch of people milling around wanting to be leader, but no obvious leader. There's a power vacuum. And what you need there is you need someone to say, look, I'm not the guy who's going to lead the party, or I'm not the gal who's going to lead the party, but I'm going to put in place the structures to get us back on our feet. And this 6 months that Ken Martin has overseen has done the exact opposite of that. It created a sense of chaos, a sense of uncertainty, a sense of directionlessness, and I just don't know how you stay on. If you can't raise money from major donors to fund the party with Donald Trump in the White House, and given what Donald Trump has done in his first 5 months in the White House, I don't know if you're ever going to. So I think Ken Martin has probably reached the end here. I don't know if he knows it yet. Maybe the people around him don't know it yet. But man, I don't know how you, given everything, all the water under the bridge in these first 5 months, how you weather a story like this one in the New York Times that makes clear that you don't really know what you're doing. Because if you can't raise the money to pay the bills, much less get the party going again, back on its feet. I mean, that is malpractice, campaign malpractice 101. And if you're a Democratic leader or want to be a Democratic leader, you cannot have another 6 months or even 3 months or maybe even another month that look like these first 6 months of the DNC. So I think Ken Martin's days are very numbered. I ask one favor of you. Hit that subscribe button. That helps me grow my career as an independent news creator, and I think helps you because you get a lot of free content. All right, take care.